Hello everybody and welcome to the Ruby Lane Dolly Cam. We are here live in Colorado Springs for the Doll Artisan Guild Convention. We are going to be showing you guys a lot about doll making and doing things for your dolls. So I am here with Glinda and Carlin, and they are going to talk to us a little bit about the Doll Artisan Guild, how it got started, and what happens at these events. And then we are going to have a wonderful tutorial by Glinda on mold casting for your dolls. So I'm going to turn the camera around and we are going to chat with you. Hi ladies. Hello. So we are here live in Guild Convention, and this is something totally new for our cameras and to be here, but our viewers love learning and they love antique dolls, and you guys love learning and love antique dolls.
Absolutely.
Can you tell us what the Doll Artisan Guild is?
Well, it's a membership organization that was started in 1977 by Mildred Seeley, who was obviously an avid collector.
Yes.
And so Mildred wanted to bring the art of doll making to everybody. And she had her husband make some of the first molds that were ever produced. And Dear Googly was actually the first one. And from there, everybody learned how to pour, how to cast, the painting, firing, all the different things that went into making a doll.
Wonderful.
And our organization is really focused on doing the right thing. Making sure that all the dolls are signed, making sure that they don't ever get passed off as an antique. But it's more really about education and focusing on that, the education of the dolls.
And the love of the dolls, right?
Absolutely.
So everybody in the Doll Artisan Guild, because we're going to be seeing a lot of people making reproductions of antique dolls, and on Ruby Lane, that is something we've always been afraid of, that kind of territory, because there have been a lot of dolls that have been listed on Ruby Lane even, and on different websites that were represented as antiques, and they're not. But the Doll Artisan Guild, everybody in the guild adheres to a very strong code of ethics. And can you guys tell us about what those ethics are?
Well, our dolls have to be clearly marked when we're making them. Even when we enter a competition, if we're looking at the dolls and they do not have the incitement that they're a reproduction and who made them, they're not even allowed to enter any seminars that are taught. We always tell them that they need to make sure the dolls are clearly marked.
So there is a lot of love of dolls here at this convention, and it's just wonderful. So one of the things that is happening throughout the whole convention is seminars and workshops and demonstrations. So Glinda, you are going to give us a demonstration on casting a mold for a doll, and there's a lot actually that goes into it. So
there is.
Yes.
Today, what we're going to do is we're going to teach
Thank you, Carolyn.
Our students how to clean and cast an All-Bisque doll. Because the parts are so small, sometimes it's a little bit more difficult than a normal doll. This doll has to be strung. So what happens in the greenware stage, it has to be prepared for the eventual stringing of the doll. Also, if you look at the finished doll, it starts off, it has seam lines. It's cast with a liquid porcelain, okay? And then what we do is Can we see what that looks like inside?
Sure. So this is liquid porcelain, and this is what the doll is cast with. So we're, and all of these principles that we're talking about apply to a lot of different kinds of dolls. This is how a lot of them start.
Actually, probably most of the porcelain dolls that your collectors are collecting started in the 1800s with the same
porcelain slip. Look at that, everybody. How cool. This is the beginning of a doll. Right in there.
And this is liquid clay. It's a liquid clay. And this is
liquid clay.
This will actually fire. I wish I had a piece of fire bisque, but this will actually fire to a really beautiful white iridescent porcelain. And from there, we will take it and we will put layers of washes and color to bring the doll to look like an antique doll.
Wonderful. So tell us about the different steps of what happens when you're doing this.
So the first thing that we do is we start with the mold, okay? These are the dolls, if you want to look at them, that we're going to be. This is actually the antique doll. It's like a penny doll, little German doll. We will be casting this doll, which is, you see how much smaller. It's actually, a mold has been made from this doll to equal this doll. what happens is we love little dolls as accessories and in boxes and for our dollies to hold, and sometimes just in little vignettes that we make for our dolls. So all of us love little All-Bisque dolls.
Yes,
And
all of us
molds,
love
yes.
All-Bisque dolls too. There are a lot of wonderful dolls on Ruby Lane. If you guys go to Ruby Lane, you can find a lot that look like this.
Yes.
Just fantastic. So a mold is made.
Sure. This is a mold, and it's a plaster mold, and it starts off, it's actually just a silhouette of this doll. If you were to take this doll and stick it in, that is exactly what that doll looks like.
So did you have to stick the doll inside there to make that mold?
No. We, what we did is we took the liquid clay, we first cleaned the mold, all the debris off of the mold, and then we banded it together. Okay, and this is called, this is plaster, and it absorbs the porcelain, the liquid out of the porcelain, and it sits for a while, it dries, and then what happens is you're able to pour this in, and you let it build up a thickness, and then you are able to pour it out, and you will let it sit for a little bit because it's like a wet clay.
Okay.
Like a piece of clay. And so you let it sit until the mold releases, because it pulls the water out of the clay. It probably takes maybe 15 minutes before it'll come apart.
Okay.
Okay, then what you end up, usually these are like little pore holes. So you have to, as a doll maker, look at the doll. Like this doll right here was actually pinned. Okay, so she has like little pins. Okay, so she's pegged like on here. But what we're going to do, because some doll makers, because this is a teaching tutorial, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show them, we're going to actually prepare the greenware for it to be pegged in the arms, and then I'm going to teach them how to set a wire into the bisque so that whenever they go to string it, they'll be able to actually string it through a loop in the doll, and it will not be, you won't be able to see it. It will actually be a tighter fit. So
Awesome.
The doll won't be like that.
Yes. So can you show our viewers a couple of those steps?
Sure. Well, the first thing, let me just do this. Okay, the first thing I would do is I would take this porcelain and I'm gonna have to clean this again if I just go for it. Okay, the first thing we would do is we would strain it to make sure that there were no impurities. You would mix the slip. And if you look at it, it sort of has a thickness about it because it's going into such a little hole. I don't want it to be thick. All right, so there's a special thinner that we use to make the clay. This is like a rubber band. I'm going to band it together. So what's going to happen is I'm going to take the mold. I'm going to dust it, pull any bits of clay off of it or dirt, and then it's going to, this hole right here is going to be where all the porcelain goes in.
Wow.
Now, the first I'm going to do is I'm going to thin this to a consistency that is going to pour in that hole really easily. Now, if you have a hole this little, obviously it's a little bit harder to get in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to strain it. I'm going to pour this in and strain it. I'm probably not going to show them. Where's my water? Over there. My water.
You don't have to.
I don't have to do it. Okay, what I would do is I would pour it in, I would strain it.
Okay.
And then what I've already done is I've done that already, and I've actually added a thinner to make it a consistency of like a fluid, more of a fluid consistency. And this is like a little bottle, and what I want to do is make it go into that hole evenly. See? So it builds up.
Ah.
These are the legs. And what happens is you'll watch it in a few minutes and you'll see that as the liquid's absorbed, it will go down and it will be less. And this is a bigger one. So I could probably pour it directly from this, but with All-Bisque dolls, I really like to use just like a little squirt bottle. You have to keep a consistent pouring, because if you stop, has a memory and it will make lines. So you want to make sure it's beautiful bisque. So you pour it, you let it sit for probably, you know, what it's doing is building up a wall. And you'll let it sit for a few minutes, because you see how quickly it becomes
It
clay.
sets, yeah, it really does.
Clay. Like we would take, if I were doing a doll with teeth, at this stage, I would probably take this clay and I would make it into a piece of clay on my mold that I could carve teeth.
Okay.
Put it around like a round object and set that so that I fired it for teeth for a doll. But, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it. And then in a few minutes, I'm going to use like a tube. And for the arms and legs, it's not so important that you empty all of it out, because it's okay if the arms and legs are a little bit thicker, because the doll has a neck here. What's going to happen, it's going to pull, and she's going to have a solid neck. So you want to make sure you get mostly all of the porcelain out. So don't film my face doing that.
Oh, I won't.
Okay, I'm going to blow it.
So she is blowing in this tube right here that is blowing the extra clay out of this mold. So these are just basic principles that you guys can use for any kind of doll making.
Sure.
So if you have always wanted to make your own sculpt,
It's very easy.
yeah.
Very easy. And then when the arms and legs are smaller holes, so what you want to do is just make sure that you're getting some of the porcelain out. And what I normally do is just a little bit to make sure, because I really would rather them not be real fragile, because they cling together. And as some of you know, all your little All-Bisque dolls, you're always looking for missing arms and legs because they just don't survive. So I'm just going to let it sit, drain. And then what happens, it'll become, in just a little while, it'll become more like a leather hard piece of clay. And it won't come away from the mold for a while. It'll probably take 15 minutes. But
15 minutes, okay.
15. And I'll leave it. And at that point, you might want to come back, because you really can't do a whole lot.
But when it comes out, this is what it looks like.
This is what it looks like, right.
So let's show that. So, oh, there we go. This is amazing. This is what, sorry, the light's kind of strange here. There we go. So that is what it looks like, everybody, after you pull it out of the mold. Now, how do you get it out of the mold? Does it just fall out?
Because of the clay pulls away from it, pulls the moisture out. What happens is you're able to just, really, it'll fall out of the mold.
It'll fall out, okay.
Force it, but it'll come easily out. These have the little pour spouts that were on that.
Right.
So what happened is we took a scalpel and cleaned that off. These seam lines, we would need to clean those. I'll show you how to do that. These are little, what I did is I used an object to make a hole, and because the porcelain shrinks, this hole is going to become smaller. So as we make the hole to peg it, we're going to make sure that the hole's larger than what we actually would like to have. Now in this particular doll, if you look here, on this doll, which is done, like the original, we're seeing that it, moves too much, and we're not really wanting that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach them to set like a wire in here, so that in the greenware stage, so that it can be strung a little bit tighter.
Okay. So can
that.
you? Are you able to show our viewers that at this point?
Let me do it with this. Okay, hold on. These are like cleaning brushes that we use.
Sure.
And what we do.
So we're here with Glinda Martin, and she is a Doll Artisan Guild instructor, and we are here live at the Doll Artisan Guild convention, and we are learning everything about doll stuff right now. It's so fun.
It is fun. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the seam line off. Now this isn't the final cleaning, but it's like a rough cleaning that we would do in this greenware stage. This is like not fired, so it's very fragile.
But you can really smooth it off, and you're not using anything in particular.
No,
just
it's very fine
something
clay.
round.
Okay, and then what I'm going to do is take a soft brush, and I'm just going to pull the seams.
Now it is giving that color. It kind of looks, maybe it.
Actually, it's going to fire white. really, really white. And we do washes like the antique dolls are poured usually from white, and then we do multiple washes on them so that they look like, we closely match. Like this doll would have like a more ruddy, and we would not want our doll to be really pale like a French doll. We would want it to be more like a German doll.
Okay.
So the washes that we use are just like the old masters did.
Look at that.
So you just take it off, okay? And then in order to set the wire, what I would do is I would want this to fit close to her leg, okay? So I'm actually gonna bring this down. Y'all are still gonna get your demonstration, the whole thing. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, this is a piece of nichrome wire. So what happens is this wire will fire in a kiln without being, without disintegrating. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut it, make a little loop.
This is so great, Glenda, because this helps us understand. Yeah.
Okay, and I'm using my same slip, okay? It's my loop. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sit it into the wet clay. Add a little bit more. What will happen is when it fires, what will happen is what we normally do is we let it completely dry out, and then we will clean it under a magnifying glass so that it has no blemishes or anything like that. Then it's fired to like an O. It's actually fired to a cone 6, which is
cone
like
6.
A very, very hot firing. And then it becomes like the soft porcelain that you see here. As you see this color here, this is the color that it will be when it comes out of the kiln as a Artisan. This one is just in a clay form, okay, or greenware. We call it greenware. Okay, this is this, and when it comes out, this is the color the whole doll is. Okay, and then what we do is we began by putting a color wash on the doll, except for here, and then we began to paint layers, and it's fired in between so that at the end of the day, there's probably 4 or 5 firings on this doll.
That is incredible. There is so much work that is involved, even with what we call a penny doll, which you know, an inexpensive doll. There's what, 15 things that you have to do to it to get it to
days.
And it takes days. Yes,
because the firing takes probably like 8 or 10 hours to fire it to this in a kiln. So when you start, and then each firing that you add a layer of paint on, when you're doing China paint, the pigment paint, it has to be layered. So you would not be able to paint all of that at one step. It would be, you know, the eyes, and then began to paint more. They probably painted them in maybe less steps than us. As doll artists, it's hard for us to not, you know, we want them to be perfect. And even though we see this doll, it would be hard for me to accept some of the cleaning that's on this doll. And this is an antique doll. So in this doll, it's just smooth because we want to just make sure that the paint goes on so pretty.
This is so interesting, and for all of our antique doll collectors out there, I know they appreciate this kind of content because it provides so much more in-depth discovery into what it takes to make what it took back in the 1900s and 1800s to make these antique dolls. And so you guys have such a strong appreciation.
What I would do now, if this is ready to come, and I'm not sure that it is, okay, this is all trimmed away. And then we would try to see if it's ready. Now it's probably this Colorado climate is not.
When we have not been on for 15 minutes, so we'll see, but.
Okay, it's not ready.
It's not ready.
It's like you wouldn't force it because then you would make a split that you could not repair. But you're trimming away the outside, okay? So this is like a clay, just a piece of clay. And can you see that you could make all kinds of things with that? It's like you could that is what you would use for teeth. That would make perfect teeth. Just trim them away. Yeah, just cut them and make them just like in your old dolls. If you had a big doll, you would just go.
There's some teeth for you, everybody. So this is, can you repair teeth this way?
You probably, I would I could repair teeth, but it's a different process. I would probably just make new teeth. But then I would probably take this around something rounds, and then just use like water, you know, and just trim it up so that it becomes
Teeth.
formed.
Wow,
like
look at
teeth.
those. That's cool.
Okay. And then just round it like the teeth that I would want it to go in.
Neat.
And then that would be, so all your little scraps you can do things with. It's not ready.
It's not ready, but
It's not.
we're going to be doing a lot more presentations. This was a really fun tutorial that we did with Glinda. If you guys appreciate and really like this content, give us a share, comment on the video, and we hope you enjoy all the rest of the content we're going to be bringing you here live at the Doll Artisan Guild Convention in Colorado Springs. Glinda, you have a big audience right here waiting for your next tutorial. Thank you for giving one to us. We appreciate it. Bye.